I muffed up the recording, so we're gonna do this again. All right, so today let's just start it out where we always started out, right? Bolden on the overview. So here's where my assets are now. At beginning of plan. Here's where I should be at the end of plan if everything goes right. Just so you know, as an FYI, today I got this thing from Bolden, but everyone got it. If you log into Bolden, it's kind of boring to me. This is a cash flow breakdown. Down here, you put the year. This is when Beth retires. So I don't know. I don't find this particular. I like grids. I like stuff like that. This doesn't. I know people love the pretty pictures, but I'll take an exportable grid any day. And also, I can see patterns much easier. So let's see. Did they do anything else? Yeah, they have the grid here, but I can't export it, and it doesn't break down like where it's coming from. So they're just saying this is the breakdown of income. So whatever, that's not the point of the video. Okay, so let's get into why I'm doing this video today. So I'm doing this video because just probably in the last 6 months, maybe a little less, I got a Fidelity One credit card, and the well, I had it for a while. My whole thought behind it was I've kind of been just like anybody who wants to give me credit. I have four basic credit cards, that I've had for a gajillion years. But if they're offering me credit in these retirement years, I tend to be like taking it now because I'd rather have more credit cards while I've got some income coming in, mainly my wife, because I don't know how what kind of propensity they're going to have to giving me a credit card once we don't have any income other than from retirement sources. So, whereas my whole life I've only done like two or three credit cards, it was always around where we were at in life. So, I had a Disney card when we were taking the kids to Disney World, and we would accumulate those dollars and, that were earned, always paying off at the end of the month. And we would go down to Disney World and we'd buy floats and everything else. Kids always thought it was great because we'd be like, hey, we're getting this on the Disney card. And we'd hand the Disney card over, and, they wouldn't have to think about anything because we were always pretty conservative. We'd always get stuff, but we didn't even think. We're like, you want two shakes? Yeah, we'll get it. We put it all on the card and kids had a good time with it. Then when the kids got older and we stopped going to Disney World, then it was more towards flights because we were flying places and bring them. So I got a Capital One card because they had flights. And then eventually what happened is, as I was using the Capital One credit card, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago or whatever, maybe more, I noticed my local bank wasn't giving me any interest, and Capital One was doing a good job giving me interest. So I migrated a lot of my banking into online banking. And Capital One's been a great card. So I got this thing in the email from Fidelity probably, I don't know, a month ago, maybe less, probably February 1 actually, saying, hey, if you do 10 transactions between now and end of March, we'll give you $10. If you do 100 or 20 transactions, something like that, between now and the end of March, we'll give you $20. If you do 100, we'll give you $50 or something like that. And so I said, hey, why not? That's free money. And so I started using my Fidelity card and enjoy, and I wasn't thinking anything about it. And then a couple of days ago, I started thinking about, you know what? When you have the Fidelity card, what you're doing is you select where you want to put those points or where you want to redeem those points to. And so I selected my Roth. So it goes right into my Roth account, any of those points. And so I charge like $500, something like that. And I got $11 mainly because of this, this extra bonus. But so $11 went into my Roth. But that got me thinking long term. Like when I get these points in Capital One, I redeem them and we go on places and we have a great time. And but it got me thinking, but I don't really earn much from them. And it's a lot of fun, a lot more fun to look at. But that got me thinking, I wonder what would happen if I like modeled it out, if since it's in the market, I could how much different would it be if I went from Capital One to Fidelity? So I put this little spreadsheet together. And this little spreadsheet right here, basically what I did is I dumped all my transactions from 2025 into this spreadsheet and I summed it. So I was kind of taken back. But that's vacations. We basically use this card for everything, and then we pay it off at the end of the month. Capital One, I asked AI like how much their return rate was based on my miles and stuff. They said it's like 1.25. Fidelity gives you 2%. So I basically modeled that. I get 725 from over the year from this. And what I did is said, let's go 3 years. So I said 2026 this year, next year, and 2028. If I spend the same amount, which I'll probably even spend a little more. So it ends up being 725 for Capital One in miles. and it get and 1,160 for Fidelity. So the total there is, it's a fair amount. It's like $1,000 difference or whatever over 3 years. So then I said, yeah, but there is a fundamental difference here, and that is that the amount that I'm putting in that I get redeem those miles from Fidelity or those dollars are actually going into the market where that will earn an additional. So not only am I getting 2% on that, I'm going to get probably an average of 5% on the money that goes in. So then I said, what if I took that money and put it in? How much do I make? So when I have this, when I have 1160, I'll make $58 on that because I'm just assuming a market return of 5%. Remember, these dollars accumulate, so then the following year I'll be getting 5% off 2320, and then the third year I'll be getting 5% off of 3480. And you could say, oh well, what if you buy flights and stuff like that? Yeah, but I mean, we're just trying to come up with a good theoretical practice, and I was trying to come up with what I should do. So you see the total over 3 years, I'll make $348. Not only am I getting this difference, but I'm getting $348 at the market, and that's at 5% return. So that gives me a total difference of 2100s, or a difference between 2175, which I get from Capital One, and 3828, which is a sum of what I get directly from Fidelity plus what I would make in a 5% market. So that gives you a total of 1653, right? So if you look at the difference, the total difference, sorry, not total. So it's kind of a no-brainer, right? You look at this and you're like, well, it's $1,600 more. It's, divided by that's fine. That's like $40 a month more that I'm making off my money by just using Fidelity. So why wouldn't I use Fidelity? So I asked myself that, why wouldn't I use Fidelity? And so there's a couple reasons. I'm probably going to start using Fidelity. There's a couple reasons I may not. All my stuff's in Capital One. So my credit card, all my electronic banking, all that. So it's really easy to go out and look at it and just say, hey, how am I doing from that perspective? Also, it's really easy. Since I load up Capital One with all my accounts for the year, you've seen that if you watched any of my videos, house account, insurance account. I have like 5 different bank accounts in Capital One that I load up and that I spend from. And so it's really easy for me when I have to spend, like, say I put 100, like yesterday, I put $100. I'm painting a room. So I took the $100 that I put in paint and I took it out of my house budget and just paid the Capital One credit card bill with $100. So it's really easy. It's convenient. So that may be one reason for convenience. That's probably, another reason, maybe just fun. So it's a lot more fun when you see you're earning miles than when it's just going into your Roth and getting sucked in. I mean, it's kind of boring. Numbers are boring until they're not. Numbers are boring until you got to spend. That's what, savings is always boring until you retire, and now you get to take from that savings and live your life, and then it's not so boring anymore. So this is the same amount. So I don't know what I'll do on this front. I have a feeling I'm just going to follow the numbers and go and just go with Fidelity and start using that credit card. Another example is I was on Expedia yesterday. I'm going down to meet with my brother, excuse me, for a week in April, end of April, beginning of May. So I was out there and I was getting ready to do that, and I'm on Expedia. I was buying the flights on Expedia, and they said, hey, if you get this Expedia credit card, it was like $12,000, something like that. Limit. If you get this no cost Expedia credit card, if you spend more than 200, we'll give you $100. So I said, sure, why not? Now, granted, I was hoping the $100 was going to be a full on credit. It's $100 I have to use on Expedia, but that's fine. I'll use hotels and stuff. The other thing that is a benefit with Capital One, which I have to find this out because this is pretty big to me, this particular piece. Capital One gives you this really great little tool after you install it, where what'll happen is if you're on a website and you want to use a credit card, you can essentially generate a virtual credit card from this little tool that I'm showing up here on the right that installs on your browser. And what that does is it creates a virtual number so that if that number gets compromised, you don't have to get a new credit card. You can use it. So it's really convenient. And it's on a website basis. So even if you have monthly reoccurring, you can set up that virtual number and it'll pay it. You can also put end lines or end dates on the credit card, things like that. So it's also kind of nice because one thing you can do with it, say you have a subscription and you're just worried you're going to completely forget about it. You can end date that credit card on that subscription, And guess what? That subscription will remind you really heartily that your credit card has an expiration date and it won't work. So that's a great way too to limit. You can kind of put just a secondary check on your subscriptions using it. So I don't know. We're gonna see. I'm gonna see if Fidelity has a similar thing. To me, this virtual credit card thing is pretty important. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see. I'll probably just follow the numbers and go Fidelity. But I thought I would share that with you guys because it's kind of cool. Not very sexy, not very fun. A lot more fun to look at miles. The other thing I get too, I think when I use this thing, I get these shopping rewards from Capital One. And I think I have like over the last 3 years, I have $150 in shopping rewards where I can spend on gift cards and stuff. So, but there's nothing to say I couldn't use the Capital One. Oh no, no, no! It's not gonna. I was thinking I could use Capital One and put Fidelity out. So that is one thing I'll have to think about because I'll look at how many rewards I've gotten and how much I get for that. Because whenever I use the Capital One, this little thing here, and use that credit card, it gives me the shopping rewards. So just something like I said, I'm only gonna do stuff that interests me that I thought may show of interest to you. So you may want to check that out. Um, and the whole thought of just I don't know, I'm getting all my credit cards now. I was always just like I only want 2 or 3 credit cards, but now I'm kind of thinking, you know what? The more a potential credit I have is probably better um now because when I retire I'll go to zero. I don't know, maybe some of you have some feedback on that. Maybe when they see your assets because of your credit rate. I think my credit score is like 835. It's almost perfect. Maybe that's what they look at, not necessarily your income. So have a great day. I hope this was some interest of you and talk to you later. And spring is coming, man. Spring is coming.